The next thing that I want to talk about is a little bit of a concept, and I'm going to type it over here in your chat box just so you can see the difference, is the concept of what is called deaf versus deaf. Okay, so notice one is spelled with the capital letter D, the other is spelled with the lowercase d. What I want you to think about when you see these two words written, whether you're reading a textbook or you're watching a video and it comes up on the screen, capital D deaf versus little d deaf. What does that mean? Well, what that means is we had to come up with a way to identify people that have a physical inability to be able to hear versus the cultural aspects of being deaf. Okay, so when you see the word deaf written with lowercase, this has to do with your physical inability to be able to hear or like process sound in your brain. Okay, so I put that over in your chat box. So little d deaf, when you see it spelled that way, is the physical inability. You're either deaf or hard of hearing. Something within your brain or your ears doesn't fully function at 100%. Okay. The other way that you would see the word deaf has to do with the capitalized D. That has to do with the cultural aspects of being deaf. Okay, so people can fall into one of these two categories, or they can cross over and be part of both. So for example, somebody like myself, I do not have a hearing loss at all. I am a hearing person. Okay, so I fall into the capital D deaf community because I'm a teacher of American Sign Language. I have hundreds of friends and students that are either deaf or hard of hearing. I'm accepted into the deaf community. Somebody that might be hard of hearing or deaf that has yet to learn ASL, they just simply either wear like a cochlear implant or they're wearing a hearing aid. Somebody like that might just right now be identified as little d deaf. So if you end up taking lessons or classes, whether it's through me or another instructor, this is a concept that's very heavily taught because it's very important. We want to make sure that we always respect deaf culture, that we're using and teaching this language appropriately, and that we respect that this is deaf and hard of hearing people that choose to use ASL. It is their first language. So we want to be very sensitive of that. And so I encourage you, when you get the Google Drive link, to read the handout that I put in there about deaf culture, because it's incredibly important. It's very important to me, since I'm a hearing person, that I teach about it, because there is some debate between the deaf and hearing world of who is the best ASL teacher. Should you have a hearing teacher? Should you have a deaf teacher? What is the best teacher for you? And that is a constant ongoing debate. My philosophy is I'm a tool in your toolbox. So if I'm able to explain the concepts of this language to you by voicing it and teaching you the signs for whatever it is that we're learning that particular lesson, then I will use my voice to be able to teach you those things. Some people believe that you should be completely immersed in this language and not be spoken to at all, and just simply learn to sign and use other modes of communication, whether it's writing or texting or utilizing a chat box. So this is a pretty hot topic, and I like to think of find a lot of teachers. I'm a great teacher, I believe. I think there's a lot of wonderful deaf teachers that could teach you a lot about deaf culture that I don't know a lot about deaf culture. I am not deaf. I know about deaf culture from what my friends tell me that are deaf, or from the 7 or 8 classes I've taken in college about deafness, but I'm not deaf myself. So that is not an area that I feel I'm the best teacher to teach that particular area, but it's very important that we touch on it. So in your journey of learning ASL, I do encourage you to find multiple resources. Look at the TakeLessons profiles of the other teachers, and don't just learn from 1 or 2 people. Try multiple people, because that's what I did. And I feel like you will be more diverse in learning this language and accepting the cultural aspects of it even better if you really explore multiple modes of learning, whether they're from deaf or hearing instructors. So that's what I wanted to tell you about the deaf culture section.